Coming up, the polls are open in Chapel Hill, but many students are heading out of town to vote. We'll explain.
We know about online classes and remote jobs, but how are internships working during a pandemic?
When the students are away, the deer come out to play. We'll tell you more about this unexpected return to nature.
From the UNC Hussman School of Journalism and Media, connecting Carolina's campus and community, this is Carolina Week.
Hello and welcome to Carolina Week. I'm Molly Cummings.
And I'm Gray Hurley. Thanks for joining us. We're less than 2 weeks out from Election Day, and while traditionally many UNC students tend to go to polling places in Chapel Hill, this year things are a little different. If they aren't already at home, many students are heading back home just to vote. Joining us live to tell us more is reporter Sierra Sanders. Sierra?
Gray, students have a choice of where they want to cast their votes, but the ones I talked to say they have very important reasons to go home for the election.
As early voting is underway, many college students from the mountains to the coast are making their way back home to cast more than just their presidential vote.
Presidential election, I could do that anywhere, which is obviously important to me, but like more local voting, like a board of education and county commissioners and stuff like that, is more important to me for somewhere that I've permanently been and I know more personally how the situation is in my hometown.
Some students say protecting the future of the place they grew up in is important.
I know that I'll be living here for at least 2 years, but I've lived at that location in Durham longer. So I feel as though I know the area better and that I'm more, like I represent that area more so than I represent Chapel Hill.
One big part in a student's desire to vote at home were the recent comments about absentee voting. NC State University junior Lauren GORE voted absentee in the 2018 midterm election, but is heading home to Charlotte this year to vote instead.
The president has kind of denounced absentee ballots, and I just wanted to make sure that no matter what he says, that my vote's still going to count, even if he's not dealing with the ballots.
College students make up one of the most sought-after demographics this election season after nationwide low voter turnout in 2016.
There's always some reason that you should vote and something that you should vote for, even in a time when you're not sure. And I think that this election will have a huge impact on our future and how America shifts from here.
Early voting ends on October 31st in North Carolina, but if you're from out of state, you should check with your local board of elections. Reporting live, Sierra Sanders, Carolina Week.
Researchers say we might be heading into our third surge of the coronavirus. In an effort to slow the spread of COVID-19 on campus, UNC is continuing to offer saliva testing to students. This testing is available to asymptomatic students who haven't been in close contact or personally tested positive for the virus. Located in the Carolina Union Great Hall Gallery, the test is done through saliva collection. As recommended by the university, this method allows students to get tested every 5 to 9 days for free. Researchers say this increased screening procedure has resulted in fewer positive cases on campus.
The university issued an apology on Twitter following what many called a racially insensitive tweet. Joining in on a Twitter trend, the official UNC page tweeted how it started and how it's going. The tweet included an image from 1993 of a black child in a suit next to a white woman planting a tree. A second photo showed a current image of the man today, standing next to the grown tree. They apologized for posting the image as it evoked painful memories of racism and slavery. The tweet has since been deleted.
The university is being sued for violating the Clean Air Act. And as reporter Jacob Messer shows us, UNC's defense has just hit a roadblock.
Coal burning is one of the earliest forms of energy production. Even though there are cheaper alternatives available like natural gas and renewable energy sources, there are still 241 active coal-burning power plants in the U.S., including right here at UNC. Located on Cameron Avenue, the UNC cogeneration facility was supposed to stop burning coal this year, but that plan was abandoned in 2017. Now, UNC is the only institution of higher learning in the state of North Carolina that still uses a coal-fired power plant. The university has been actively fighting a lawsuit alleging 10 violations of the Clean Air Act. On October 9th, the judge denied the university's motion to dismiss the charges. According to the Center for Biological Diversity, one of the environmental groups which brought the lawsuit, the university committed violations regarding pollution control, pollution monitoring, and non-compliance reporting. UNC responded by saying, "The university has supplied voluminous information and data to both the Division of Air Quality and the plaintiffs, and looks forward to presenting this information as part of its ongoing defense against this lawsuit." Lee, a state campaigner for the center, says they'd like to see a roadmap plan from the university regarding the plant ending its use of coal, saying, "We're having to have the same conversation about the plant shutting down and prioritizing community health and prioritizing environmental protection. And it's fallen on deaf ears, unfortunately." The university will now have to decide whether to settle the suit or let the judge decide the case. Either would take months. In Chapel Hill, I'm Jacob Messer, Carolina Week.
The pandemic has changed the way lots of companies have conducted their business, including their internships. Reporter Samaria Parker talked with several students who have had a different sort of internship experience.
For many, taking an internship is an essential part of the college experience. And with COVID-19 making most of these opportunities remote, more people can intern than ever before. UNC senior Trevor Stevenson is interning for CNN Tonight with Don Lemon.
Tonight, a plane takes off, but never...
He says going remote is what made it possible for him to intern this fall.
If this were a regular semester, if I were to be in person and in class, I wouldn't have the time, nor would I be able to move to New York to be able to do an internship like this.
So far, the experience has been worthwhile, but the amount of screen time between classes and his internship has been overwhelming.
I found some days that I'm sitting in front of the computer from 9 to 10 p.m., sometimes later, just trying to balance and do some of my classwork and then having to work for my internship. I've had to force myself to get out of my room.
With everything online, Sony brand marketing intern, UNC senior Tanner Jacobs recommends prioritizing spending time away from the screen.
I had to figure out like ways to make a schedule and set time aside for me. So if that means like you taking time out of the day to like meditate or taking time out of your day to watch an episode on Netflix of something that you just really enjoy.
For many companies, applications for the spring are already open. Interested students can begin applying online today. In Chapel Hill, Samaria Parker, Carolina Week.
Now that North Carolina has entered phase 3 of COVID-19 regulations, many restaurants on Franklin Street are trying to open back up. Linda's is a favorite of college students and locals alike, and it opened its doors yesterday for the first time since August. They have made several adjustments to the way they operate, including a new takeout window for patrons that want to wait outside. Employees are also asking for support from their customers in the form of donations on GoFundMe.
I think that it'll be exciting. I, for one, am very excited that Linda's is open. Again, plan on going at some point. Hopefully attending some 21sts at Linda's. Always a highlight of a year, junior year, or sometimes sophomore or senior year.
And now joining us with all the news on sports, Kennedy Bird. Kennedy?
The field hockey team only has one more game in its regular season before it begins postseason play in the ACC Championship. The defending national champions are 6-1 on the season, with 4 of those 6 wins coming at Karen Shelton Stadium. The Heels will play their final game of the shortened regular season on October 30th against Wake Forest in Chapel Hill. After that, they will head down the road to Durham to compete in the ACC Championships, which marks the end of the season. The NCAA canceled its fall championships for the 2020 season. The women's soccer team is 6-0 overall, and they look to maintain their winning streak as they host the Blue Devils on Friday. Last time the two teams met this season in Durham, the Heels earned a 2-0 win on the strength of 2 first-half goals, one from sophomore Izzy Brown that made its way to the back of the goal in the first quarter. The Heels have outscored their opponents 14-2 and look to continue the dominance when they take to Dorrance Field at 7 p.m. on Friday. If you're a UNC student excited to start club sport practices, you'll be disappointed to hear that the sport start dates have been postponed indefinitely. Sarah Gray Barr reports.
Co-captain of UNC's water polo team, MEREDITH KARLE, was excited to start practice at the end of September. Although training began in August in past years, the team couldn't begin practice until September, following campus recreation guidelines. Now, the team might not be able to practice at all.
Because practices were going to start in 4 days, to get this note today that practices are not going to be happening and there's like no timeline for when they will restart, especially when varsity practices have been happening since the beginning of the school year.
Sports club officers received an email from Senior Assistant Director of Sports Programs Tori Hooker. The email rescinded approval to begin in-person practices. As a result of the email, some sports, like the club competition cheer team, decided to suspend operations for the year and try to resume during the 2021-2022 school year. ALLIE MCCLURE, secretary of the cheer team, said it didn't seem fair to allow varsity contact sports to play, but not club sports.
I don't think it's fair that one sport gets to play over the other, because if you look at it objectively, if you're telling us we cannot play because we are going to spread the virus by playing together or by being together and practicing our sport, no matter what the sport is, how can you go to another group of people and tell them they're being safe and they're not spreading the virus?
With less than 2 months in the semester, MCCLURE worries that the club competition cheer team will be suspended permanently. I'm Sarah Gray Barr, reporting.
Information regarding club sport practices will be updated on the campus recreation website regularly. That's all from sports. Back to you.
Most college students will remember the Pokemon Go app's launch in July of 2016. But what's happening with it now? In the summer of 2016, the Pokemon Go app broke the record for the highest revenue for any mobile game within the first month. But by December of that year, the daily user numbers had dwindled. And since March, the game has regained popularity, and now some UNC students are using it as a way to get out of the house and walk around with friends. As you walk, you can catch Pokemon, pass Pokestops, and go to gyms where you can battle other users. Since COVID-19, they have added new features, so you can also continue to play from home.
So I started playing in 2016, and then over quarantine, my friends re-downloaded it. And I think it's just a really great way to, hang out with your friends outside in a socially distant way.
Now that students are away, the deer have come to play. With an empty campus to roam, the local deer and other critters in Chapel Hill have been emerging onto campus. They've been popping up on both the upper and lower quad. Many Chapel Hill locals have been reporting an increase in deer around the area. Sophomore Bethany Welch was surprised to see a deer just a few feet from her as she was studying on the quad and decided to film it.
Maybe it was just because I didn't know if anyone would believe me, but so I got out my phone and I recorded it just to show people how close it was and that I was making eye contact with it, so.
Hey Molly, I've got a joke for you. Why did the deer have to go to the dentist?
I don't know, Gray. Why?
Because he had buck teeth. Get it? Well, that does it for this edition of Carolina Week. Thanks for watching.